would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the South East Nation and the Malacca people of the Yuin River and the Lillicorni people of the Far South. We recognise their continuing connection to land, water and culture. We pay our respect to their elders past and present. In attendance tonight we have Deputy Mayor Thorpe, we have Councillor Armstrong, Councillor Jessup, Councillor Robinson, Councillor Gibson, Councillor O'Neill, Councillor Burgess and Councillor Rosette. Would you like to introduce your staff, please?
Sure. Tonight we have General Counsel Matthew Grimsey, Director of Community and Place Lyle Ground, Director of People and Corporate Services Paddy Johnson, Director of Infrastructure and Assets Frank Chen, and our support staff, our Innovation and Technology Project Officer Connor Watson and Executive Assistant Olga Bath.
Thank you. Number 2, there are no apologies tonight. There's no leave of absence tonight and we have no one absent. Councillors, do anyone wish to declare an interest in any of tonight's agenda items?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I have an interest in report number 10.004-25.
Thank you very much. It's the next. I'll ask you later. Yep. Is that
No, talk now.
That's everyone?
Yeah.
Yep.
No? Okay. All right. Okay. Sorry. Councillor
I've got an interest in 17.008/25.
Thank you.
Yep, I have an interest in 19.058-25.
Thank you.
Oh, I may have a perceived interest in DA 103-2025 as a member of the Tasmanian Greens, but as a member of the Council's Planning Authority, I don't follow any party policy. I follow the regulations of the Tasmanian Planning Scheme and do my role paying attention to any legislation that is specifically supporting environmental outcomes, as is outlined in the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act.
Okay. Yes, Councillor Roberts.
I'm an ordinary member of the Port Huon Progress Association, who I understand represented to the item on DA 103-2025. Huon Aquaculture, the landowner there, is a previous client of my forest consultancy business, where I've prepared and certified a forest practices plan.
Yes.
I would like to declare a perceived interest as I'm a member of the Tasmanian Greens. This will not impede on my ability to make informed planning decisions when acting as a planning authority. And as far as that goes, I want to assure my fellow councillors that I will be able to make objective decisions when we're looking at DA 103-2025 tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes. Councillor Jessup.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Robinson just reminded me that I think I might be an ordinary member of the Port Huon Progress Association as well, but I haven't been involved in any representations. I haven't been to a meeting for a while, I must admit. But in terms of also perceived interest on DA 103-2025, I live in the proximity of the particular site. I'm not a direct neighbour to it. I don't look over it or anything like that, but I don't have any pecuniary interest in it, and I think it's my proximity isn't going to affect my ability to make an independent decision based on the evidence put before us.
Well, I have a perceived interest that I went to school with the past owner of Yuin Aquaculture and have known her since we were 6. So that's my perceived. So thank you. Okay. For 4.010/25, do I have a councillor to move a motion that the minutes of the ordinary meeting 24th of September 2025 as circulated to be confirmed. Do I have a councillor to move that? Councillor Rozak, and a seconder, Councillor Gibson. Does any councillors wish to report any changes? No? Well, I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors, and the motion is carried. Is there any legislative items tonight?
Not tonight.
Do we have any urgent matters tonight?
Oh, sorry. Good catch, Mayor. Lucky you're here. So yes, I bring forward the following matter, change of ordinary council meeting date. So in accordance with Regulation 8.6 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2015, I report that the matter was not included on the agenda for the meeting as officers did not identify the opportunity until further work was undertaken in preparation for the annual community forum and the annual general meeting. The matter is urgent to allow for early notice to be given to the public of the change we're proposing. Qualified advice is provided for councillors by way of a report to council, and the recommendation is that pursuant to Regulation 8.6 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations of 2015, the urgent matter of change of ordinary meeting date be listed on the agenda for discussion as agenda item 15.045/25 respectively.
Thank you. So do I have a councillor to move a motion that the urgent matter be listed onto the agenda? Councillor Jessup and Councillor Gibson. Also, all those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors. It's carried. I have no mayor's announcements tonight. Public participation. Public question time. 8.1.1 answers to questions taken on notice. There was no questions taken on notice from the previous meeting. 8.1.2 questions given on notice. There was one question given on notice from Angela Rivas-Bogg regarding the C3 church planning application. The response is available on the website and will be included in the minutes. There were no questions without notice submitted by email tonight for tonight's meeting. Before we go to public question time, just letting the gallery know that any questions concerning DA 103/2025, in line with our governance and meeting procedures, we can't talk about those. I can't answer questions in public question time. So, welcome to public question time. If there's a question as to the chair, I will ask you to come forward to the lectern and identify yourself by name and area where you live. To make things fair and equitable, we have a limit of 2 questions per person, and we normally allocate 15 minutes for question time. All questions asked must be directed to me as the chairperson. I will either answer the question or refer the question to another councillor or to the general manager. Every attempt will be made to provide an answer to your question. Debate on questions cannot be entered into. The council cannot make decisions on issues that arise in public question time. Is there anyone that would like to come forward and ask a question tonight? Yes, if you'd like to come to the lectern.
Hi,
And if you could just state your name and where you're from, please.
my name's James,
Yes.
and I'm from Lonnavale, just west of Lonnavale.
Thank you, James.
I'll just read this.
Yeah, and you've got something you'll be able to give to Olga. You've got something. Yep, thank you. Okay.
So I wanted to say good evening to everybody, to the mayor, and to everybody else here. And I wanted to pay respect to the Malokadi people, the caretakers of the place where I live. And I'd like to thank everybody here for everything they do to make the Huon Valley an enjoyable place and a safe place to live. And yeah, for all your efforts, I appreciate it. I'm here because there are places where your efforts aren't being felt. Places that aren't enjoyable and aren't safe. And I feel that the neighbourhood where I live's been plagued by a pretty dark kind of energy for quite a while. There's all sorts of problems: drug abuse, alcohol abuse, violence, theft. And there seems to be sort of an overall kind of sense of fear and a disregard for the rule of law, for common decency and for respectful communication. And it feels as though the people in the neighbourhood have been forced to try to confront this issue themselves through fear, with the fear of retaliation, or just out of exhaustion, learn to sort of just live with it, live with this aggression, live with this violence and the threatening, destructive behaviour that's happening. We get woken at night, forced to lock our homes, drive on dangerous roads, and live with this kind of threat. I wonder if it's possible for someone to approach the problem, to shed some light on it, and to help it engage with the community, to help it sort of live a better life, to live more productive lives, happier lives. It's a small community, it's a small place, and there's a lot of good people there, a lot of people, you know, doing honest things, working hard. And everybody's very frustrated. So yeah, it's a beautiful place, and it's a shame to see it treated so badly. I can see a brighter future, and I work towards that future. And I offer my hands, my heart towards that. And I welcome others who want to share their ideas about a better world. And my question is, how can the Huon Valley Council help the people in my neighbourhood to deal with this threat and to live safer and happier lives?
Well, I'm really sorry to hear that that's how you're living. That's not acceptable, James. I fully feel for you for that. But I think that if I can pass over to the CEO, we might be able to do some things to help you.
And likewise, very big question.
Yeah.
And, you know, this obviously isn't the first time we're hearing about it, but it's, you know, thank you for coming in and raising it so eloquently here, so meaningfully. It really hammers home how significant it is, and you're not the only person that we've heard from. We certainly are working on it with the capacity that we've got. I don't have an answer for you on how to fix this right now, but it is something that we are working on. And with the escalation in the last couple of months in particular, it's something that we need to work harder and quicker on. But it is a pretty significant problem that actually has multi-agency influences and a need to work together, which we're doing, but there needs to be more of it. It's about all I can give you at the moment, and I know it's probably unsatisfactory, and I know you guys are living through endless nights of noise and nuisance, and it's not good enough. But yeah, it's a really challenging one to fix.
And we do get together with the agencies, and we will stay in contact. Not to let you know what we talk about, but to let you know that when we are, and so that you know that we are trying, and how we can move forward to make your place a better place to be.
It is a beautiful place.
Yes,
It's a
yes,
beautiful
it
part
is.
of
Yes.
the world.
Yeah.
Can I ask, sorry, quickly, are you part of or aware of the North Huon Collective?
I've just been told about that,
Yeah.
Okay.
so I haven't spoken with them.
So I'd recommend that's a good place to get some I mean, you're obviously part of the community there anyway, but that is a group of like-minded individuals who speak very similarly to how you have here tonight about wanting to make the place they love better. And I think they're an area which formed initially around road standards and have demonstrated how you can work with council to get better outcomes. So I'd encourage you to connect through that group because we've got a good dialogue ongoing with them. But yeah, still just reiterate, it is a really difficult problem to solve out there.
Yeah, I don't know, we're not meant to have a discussion, but
Well, look, we don't have many in the gallery tonight, and you're raising an issue that is really concerning and getting worse, and it is something we're grappling with. And I wish I had a better answer, but I don't.
And
It's
it's
just-
polite. It's polite.
it seems as though it's quite a small percentage. The district is small itself, like there's not a lot of people there. And the problem close to home is quite a small thing. So it should be, I don't know. It's just, it's very frustrating that, everybody's trying to deal with it themselves. We can't do anything.
No, you can't. So rest assured, please, that we will be talking with the authorities that we need to.
We are.
And we
I
are,
had
yes.
discussions about it this week.
Yeah,
So,
so
yeah.
we are doing that, and we will get back to you as soon as we've got something to say. But by all means, if you would need us to put you in contact with that collective group, we can do that because they have met with us over the road, and once they had a meeting, they felt that they were cared about more. So I think they are a really good group for you to join up with, Jane. So, but yeah, I really do feel for you having to live with that every day. It's not acceptable. So
Well, I feel it's good I'm happy to work for it.
no, good on you. Thank you very much. Thanks for your question and for that.
Thank you.
Thanks for thank you. Do I have anyone else? Yes, would you like to come forward?
Thank you, Mayor. Liz Smith, Signet.
See that message on the back there?
First, I would like to congratulate Councillor Mrozek for his question in the agenda on page 77 regarding the Signet structure plan, or at least that was my interpretation, and how our waste and sewer infrastructure in Signet and the entire municipality is holding up, and whether it's fit for the potential growth and development. He asks about the capacity of our sewage treatment plants in the Huon Valley and how they are running at the moment, to give an idea of how much growth can be covered with the existing infrastructure. I will read the council's response just for background. The council's response is that Taswater has invested significantly in sewer infrastructure across the valley in the recent years. However, capacity implications and future planning alignment are key elements being assessed within the strategic planning documents currently under development by the Strategic Land Use Planning Area. To support this strategic work and answer councillor questions, Council has requested the following information from Taswater and will provide further details when received. So what's been requested is the current capacity of water and sewer systems across our municipal area, utilisation rates of existing treatment plants, capacity to accommodate projected growth, and any planned infrastructure upgrades. Well, as pointed out by Councillor Mrozek, his question is very relevant to the current projects, the Signet Structure Plan and the Huonville Precinct Plan. His question relates only to waste sewer systems, not to water. So Taswater does not need to immediately provide information on water provision or information on sewage treatment capacity for the whole valley. It can be initially just for Signet and Huonville. So my questions are, firstly, The Signet Structure Plan is being developed by consultants with community input this coming Saturday. If the council has to wait until Taswater provides all the information requested on the capacity of all water and sewage system across the valley, when will that information probably be available?
Happy to answer that now.
Well, that's my first part of my
Sure.
question. And my second part of that question is, most importantly, can the planning for the Signet Structure Plan proceed without the information from Taswater? And will the structure plan be delayed if information on the capacity of the Signet sewage treatment system is not available? Because the council has requested all data on the current capacity of water and sewage system across the whole municipal area, when the data for the Signet sewer system is all that is really needed to progress the Signet Structure Plan.
Sure. Yeah, sure, you can.
So, a couple of points on that. Just to clarify, the workshop that's happening around the Signet Structure Plan this weekend is specifically zooming in on those key sites that were referenced in the document. So it's not looking at the whole structure plan, it's merely looking at the Old School Farm, Mary Street, the Caravan Park. So that's really the focus. I just wanted to clarify that. In terms of the data that's been requested versus the data we already have, in terms of Signet, we already know the capacity of the wastewater works. I don't have it right in front of me, but it was part of one of the initial information requests that the Strategic Land Use Planning team made. So we have that information already. What's been asked here is more broadly around actually what are their future plans across the whole valley.
The whole valley.
Yeah, so I just want to assure you that we are engaging with Taswater, State Growth, all the service agencies, Tas Networks being another one. So when we're doing structure planning like we did in Huonville, we have all that data so that we're not planning for things that cannot be delivered due to constraints. So it's just core part of the process. So yeah, we do have that information.
And I'll just add a little further to that. So thank you, that's spot on. Tas Networks have recently released their network capacity map and are rolling that out. Effectively what we've had is a chicken and egg scenario in Tasmania for some time, where with a lack of strategic planning work going on across the state, network providers going, well, what am I planning for? What am I delivering? How do I put forward estimates on my capital investments? And councils then going, when they do come along and approve a subdivision, then going, significant waits for, delivery of critical services. So I think what you're seeing, Tas Networks providing their capacity maps, signalling this kind of stuff, us working with Tas Networks, there's been multi-agency awareness that we've all got to do our little bits differently. It's not an impediment. Like we've got, as Lyle says, we have the data. We are requesting more data for the fullness. It's only an impediment in that it would be anyway if we did any kind of planning or a subdivision growth happened without any guidance. It would still be an impediment if the service provider is unable to service that and it's not on their forward plans. So we can continue doing that, and at worst it'll be a known capacity gap. That would affect when you could actually implement the building work as opposed to planning for that work. So I think we're in a good space, and there's recognition between all the different providers on the pieces of the puzzle that they all need to do and to share.
So everything goes forward together now.
So it goes forward together is the key thing. Yep.
I have another short question, which relates to Urban Tree Managers Meeting, which is on page 50, where it says an urban tree managers meeting was held at the newly developed parkland at the former Telosa Reservoir site, and the project manager of strategic planning attended the meeting, which involved exploring the new parkland, a general catch-up discussion. City of Hobart also shared insights from their recent trial tree plantings, which were carried out in collaboration with Tasmanian Tree Care, focusing on urban tree planting. Over the past week, I have been asked by many people about why the native grasses, shrubs and trees around the car park at Burton's Reserve have been removed and replaced by a thick layer of new mulch and large rocks. The Signet community, especially Landcare, planted and looked after all the trees and other native plants at Burton's Reserve over the past 30 years. And I wonder whether this treatment of our Cygnet parkland is an example of how council is approaching urban tree planting and what actually happened to the native plants that were removed from Burton's Reserve.
Answer that. So the works that are going on in Burton's Reserve directly correlate to feedback that we've received from the community around the car parking and the general arrangements in support of it was the consultation we did through for the playground work.
But nobody ever said anything, excuse me, about taking out the plants.
Yeah, no, I'll get to the plans in a second. But in the general arrangement for where the cars go, which is where the trees are attached to. Are you talking about the wattle trees that we've removed?
No, it's the trees around the existing car park.
Yeah, so that's
no-
the same one. So there's a series of wattle trees. My understanding is it's been
Blackwoods.
Blackwoods. So there's some end of life Blackwoods that have been removed. There's new native plants being replaced in there that are more suitable, that are going to attract native wildlife, etc. So
Well, plenty of poa grasses and that kind of thing. Those are the ones that people are worried about.
what's that?
Small shrubs and poa grasses that were the vegetation all the way around the car park.
Sure. There's new vegetation getting put in to replace what was there, so it should be a nicer native environment when we put it back in. It has been done in concert with trying to improve visibility for the safety of children in particular that are crossing across the road between the two parts of the playground and getting to vehicles. So it's a coordinated piece. It's not done yet, and there will be more vegetation going in there that's all going to be native, and hopefully it'll be a good result when it's done, and we'll certainly be sharing it.
It would be nice to warn people that this was going to happen, because I've been approached by so many people saying, why has this happened to our plants?
The works were. We are having a bit of a conversation in question time tonight, but
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's all right.
Yeah.
Well, we did it for the first one, so we did notify of the works, but yes, we haven't gone down to the nitty gritty of exactly what we're doing in there. So I apologise if there's been any confusion. Hopefully, you can tell those people that it is hopefully going to be okay, and you can come back and let me know if it's not.
I will. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions from the gallery? Okay, we now come to, yes, Sam. Do we have any deputations tonight? Are there any petitions to be tabled? No. Okay. So will this overtake that, or I still read that? Then that, yep. We have one planning report for council to consider tonight, and I advise that the council commenced acting as a planning authority as at 6:21 p.m. Thank you. In accordance with the provisions of Part 2 Regulations 29 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2025, the Council will now act as a planning authority pursuant to the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993. In accordance with Regulation 29, the Council will act as the planning authority in respect of those matters appearing under item 10 on this agenda, inclusive of any supplementary items. It is important to be aware that your roles as a councillor and as a member of a planning authority are different. The key differences relate to decision making. As a member of a council, your decisions may be swayed by community feedback, but as a member of a planning authority, your decisions must be based on the provisions of the planning scheme. The above snippet is from the Good Governance Guide, makes it quite clear the importance of wearing, as what we all call, our planning hats. We now come to Toby leaving the room, if you don't mind. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We now come to agenda item 10.004/25 DA/103. That to go off. 2025 extension of land reclamation area 5,520 metres square, is that right? For constructing of a fish pen and maintenance operations. We understand that the fish farming is an interest to the community and some councillors have expressed various views on fish farming industry, whether in the support or of the opposed to the industry and in some aspects of the industry. We are aware that these views may be perceived as a conflict of interest by members of the community. Council is obliged to consider the application that has been made before it, and Council is not making any policy decisions regarding the fish farming industry. Each councillor has considered their interest in this application prior to participating in debate. Council will deal with the application in accordance with the requirements of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993 and the Use and Development Standards of the Tasmanian Planning Scheme and the Yuin Valley Local Planning Schedules. Are there any issues or concerns from councillors? I'll move on, thank you. DA 103/2025, extension of land reclamation on area 5,520 metres square for construction of fish pen and maintenance operations. Report number 10.004/25. I refer the councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move the motion? Councillor
Move a motion.
move a motion? Yeah, sorry.
I'd like to move an alternative motion, Mayor, if that's all right. I'd like to move that we refuse the permit. So A would read as written to the report, but B is to refuse the permit. And I can quickly outline on what basis that is in case there's somebody who's happy to second my motion, which it's basically around the fact that it doesn't meet the performance standards in the development of standards of building and works, performance criteria P1.1, because in that performance criteria, it says that works within the waterway and coastal protection area must avoid or minimise adverse impacts on natural assets. And because the applicant has alternative ways of achieving the same outcome of a larger net area, it does not minimise, the work does not minimise work in the coastal protection area.
Do I have a seconder for the alternate motion? Yep, councillor Rozak? Yep. Do I put that to?
Yeah, just normal process.
Yep. Yeah, speak.
So as I said, the applicant owns the land directly behind the Crown lease and they've got the scope to extend the net maintenance platform into this area rather than as an accretion into public waters. This map shows that there's a width of 44 metres available on the land, which is more than the proposed 43 metre accretion. Taking this into account and when assessing it against the performance criteria, the proposal fails to meet C7.6 development standards for building and works as follows. So first, because it's within the tidal waters, the extension of the existing marine farm shore facility is more than 20% of the existing. So the proposal has to be assessed against the performance criteria. And as I said before, the proposal does not meet performance criteria 1.1 because it's reads, works within the waterway and coastal protection area must avoid or minimise adverse impacts on natural assets, having regard to, and there's a number of things that it's got to be regard to, but the two pertinent ones are A, impacts caused by erosion, siltation, sedimentation and runoff, and I, which is minimising cut and fill. Because there's a clear alternative for the applicant that meets these performance criteria by avoiding all works in the protection area, including the trucking of 30,000 tonnes of fill across the area, the tipping of 30,000 tonnes of fill into the river, and stockpiling of fill as per the diagram that Council Planners asked as an RTI, and the proposed earthwork within the area that's required to connect to the accretion and level the land. So all of that work wouldn't be required to be done within the coastal foreshore protection area. And so I think that it's absolutely undeniable that the proposal doesn't avoid or minimise the adverse impacts on natural assets. And for that reason, it doesn't meet the performance criteria. Some may argue that the protection zone is already degraded and therefore it doesn't matter and it doesn't need protection, but I don't believe that this is the case. If anything, damaging the environment must be repaired by more stringent adherence to legislation that protects the environment. You know, that's the only way we'll get these areas to recover. And if we don't protect them and they're not allowed to recover, then the natural environment just continues to degrade. And I think this includes a much broader damage to the natural environment than just the area of the existing net, because the whole that area is flanked by the protection zone and the whole of the bay around it. So, yeah, I was also going to say that it's not the end result of the construction, but it's the process of the construction itself that fails to meet the performance criteria. Because the proposed works within the coastal waterway protection area include delivery, stockpiling, tipping, and all of these have adverse impacts on natural assets. That's the way I read the Tasmanian Planning Scheme legislation.
Can I ask a point of order, Mayor? Councillor Gibson said they own the land behind the particular site. I'm just having a look at this map. There's a road about 20 metres behind the site, and then by the look of this, their boundary is only about 10 metres behind that. So all the land on the hill is not owned by them.
There's the Crown lease, some private land, Crown lease, and then
But it's only about 20 metres, and there's a road in the middle of it. Because I think
the road would need to be realigned.
but it couldn't be realigned because the land behind it is a rural. That's because I know this because that's a land that council wanted to turn into landscape conservation area, and that's the owner of that land abuts to my property, and that's all farmland there. So I think there's only about a 20 metre buffer. I'm not saying that I necessarily agree with the development, but I don't know if that is correct.
Can I pass? Can I go there to you, like? Or yes? Yep.
That's just one point of your argument. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with the rest of the argument, but just I think that belongs to the Bender Pastoral Company, which is owned by a person who I don't think would necessarily feel that they are. Anyway.
Not the large parcel of land.
That's only about. There's
Talking about the
literally
narrow
There's
narrow.
28 metres to the road, and then there's 20 metres from the road to the boundary.
45 metre
Yeah.
width on
45,
that
through your mayor,
road.
45 metres as per councillor Roberts.
Yeah.
Of the land owned by, you know.
Yeah, sufficient,
I
sufficient.
don't know, I don't know if it's sufficient or not.
Or just comparing the area pushing out to the area
Oh,
pushing.
that's true, yeah.
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 Got to meet us the
So
same
it gives
race.
them about the same land
Yeah.
size, you're
That's what I'm
saying,
saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions or? Yes, councillor Robertson?
I just might foreshadow that if this motion were lost, I would move the original recommendation with an amendment, which I think has been circulated to all councillors. But to me, Councillor Gibson's proposal is quite speculative. It's not the proposal that's been put to us in the DA, so it would be introducing some quite different material that we haven't really considered and explored. It's one thing to talk about widths of titles on a computer screen, and I'm trying to bring up
It's quite steep, sure.
it's incredibly steep, and I'm trying to bring up contours, and I haven't quite done it, but that's quite a steep hillside. There's an existing cut into that hillside at the back of the industrial area, which is already visible from the recreational and residential side of Port Hewitt, and I would argue creates a visual disturbance, a less pleasant part of the landscape. So pushing and cutting further back into the hill, which would create more fill, but anyway, would create an even greater visual
15
disturbance.
15 metres, I think.
Yeah, but it's a so those are 10-metre contours.
Yeah.
So you're going up to a 20-metre tall cliff, which is pretty huge. The other point I'll just make, and it's something I would bring up in relation to the original recommendation too, is that I'm a little frustrated, but the Coastal and Waterway Protection Code overlay doesn't actually extend onto most of the area that's proposed to be filled. We are, and there's no scenic overlay on this site. That concerns me because I know and value the, as many people do, the scenic beauty of our coastlines. And I think that potentially the coastal frontage is of more value as a scenic asset than the top of the hill, or at least as much. But as it stands, our planning scheme doesn't recognise that at all. And we need to operate within the system that we're operating in. It's useful to identify deficiencies along the way. And so the other deficiency besides scenic overlay is the coastal and waterway protection one. Now, I was really surprised that coastal and water protection overlay wouldn't actually include the water. And it's kind of funny because then as soon as you put some dirt in it and bring that as land out above the water, by definition, that's actually still not included in the overlay because it's going back to the lines drawn on the map in our planning scheme. We're butting up against a deficiency in the SPPs where perhaps a definition of distance from waterway edge could have overruled the line on a map and captured that new bit of land. But also we're butting up against the accuracy and effort that went into our own preparation of our planning scheme. So I looked at that and I thought, could it have? Maybe there's a definition thing in it and it just can't go over the waterway. But I wandered around, this map's fantastic, wandered around up to Bridgewater and found the Derwent River, with some zoning reaching out into the middle of the waterway and some waterway and coastal protection overlay on that zoning as well. So I went, aha, you can do this. We could have prepared a planning scheme with that waterway and coastal protection overlay out across all of the general industrial zone. We could have solved that problem and put that constraint in there, but as it stands, we didn't. And I think, I understand from the planner's report that perhaps we're fortunate the applicant has treated that area as if it were still covered by the overlay and attempted to or proposed that they meet those same criteria, even though it's technically outside the boundary. But I don't know how we would go refusing it because of a criteria that we're actually outside of technically.
That's not my point. I mean, I was very clear that I'm talking specifically about the area within is the work being done within the coastal protection overlay that I'm talking about. And that's where it doesn't meet the criteria.
If the site were extended into the hillside, so through you, Mayor, if the site were extended into the hillside, that work within the overlay area, the moving of dirt and fill and machinery activities and so forth, would still all be happening within that waterway and coastal area.
No, I don't think so. I think it's behind that. I don't have the exact line of where that would be, 40 metres.
Which is, I guess, where I'm saying it's such a speculative idea.
Well, irrespective of exactly how it's done, I think that the work that's happening on that area is not minimising the damage to natural values. The work actually happening within that coastal foreshore protection area is not minimising or avoiding. It's meant to be trying to avoid damage to natural values.
What do you see as the natural values of that existing industrial pad?
Well, it doesn't, if you read the wording carefully, it doesn't say that it has to be the natural values of that on that particular area. It's natural values in general. So natural values of the coastal foreshore protection area around there and or, you know, sediment escaping out into the bay in general and damaging natural values. So, I mean, if it said the natural values of that area, I would agree with you, but it doesn't.
Okay.
It's very specific.
Have you finished, Amy, with yours? Yeah? Okay, thank you. Do I have any other questions? Yes?
I don't have a question. I think it's a tough gig either way. Something's going to end up not looking fantastic and we're going to impede into something else. But I see where Paul's coming from and I tend to think my thought process is along the lines of yours also. I think it's better to do it, if we could, the way that you want to do it, than completely
All right,
fill a
so,
coastline, so to speak.
yep, okay. All right, so I think, yes?
Yeah, just maybe to clarify, thank you, Mayor, because Councillor Robertson was talking about of interpreting Councillor Gibson's suggestion as extending the existing cut to make room for the nets to be pulled out fully. Again, I'm just looking at the list map with the map tools, you know, taking dimensions and seeing how far, like looking at the satellite picture, the fish pen is reaching out a fair bit. So if you measure the distance that's sticking out into the water and then measure how much space is behind it, this bit that's sticking out fits entirely in there without even, I'm not sure if you see, I think the picture in the application is fairly similar to the one on the list. You see those black pipes that are basically on the plan presented with the application just around the southern end of the lease boundary, sorry, there is a pile of what looks black pipes. Those pipes are still on flat ground. This is still the area that's flat and accessible without cutting anything into the hillside. So just kind of clarifying that I don't think that Councillor Gibson should suggested any more excavations in order to make room for that. There seems, through what we could call a desktop assessment, there seems to be enough space in the area to drag the nets out fully without, and even staying without the lease boundaries.
So no existing.
No extra cuts. The only thing that potentially, and this is hard to judge, but that would need realignment is the road that's accessing the hard stands as they are at the moment. So if you imagine you pull the nets out, and again, I'm not sure about their internal operations, how much space they need all around it, but assuming they pull the entire net out, this would compromise their access that's currently coming through Crown Land. So I would like to point out in this context as well that whilst they have a lease and a license to operate on the clear current hard stand, you can see on the satellite picture that they are obviously utilizing Crown Land at the moment through the access and storage. So one could say Councillor Gibson's suggestion would rectify the issue that they are having access through Crown Land onto their lease property, moving the road out of the way with maybe minor earthworks, but certainly not extending the existing cut as it is now, because measuring the distances, there is enough room, through this rough desktop assessment to say, yep, it could actually fit. Maybe you have to tidy up a little bit, but it will fit. And thank you, Mayor.
Yep, that's fine. Yes, Councillor Bird.
Yeah, sure. Through you, Mayor. Councillor Gibson recommendation is just totally disregarding the 7 pages of recommendations that the council put in the original proposal. And I've actually been on that block a long time ago, and there'd be quite massive earthworks. So basically, you'll just be moving the problem from one area to another. You're still going to have all the same issues are going to be there, and I don't know. Is it our job to come up with an alternative off a map or an aerial photograph? I really don't think it is.
I don't think it is either.
No. So I think
It's our job to adjudicate whether or not the proposal, if they should be doing absolutely everything they can to avoid adverse impacts on the natural assets, and I don't believe that that's the case.
All right, okay. So if that's the case then, yes?
Yep, I don't think we should be making these, redesigning the application, and we have no expertise in this area. I think it's been an industrial site for a long time, and I know that's not an argument to destroy it or make it worse, but most of that silk has all come washed from orchard work that's in Cygnet. So it's changed a lot in the last 100 years, and I think we're getting a bit too precious in there. We've probably got 50 boats in the bay dragging 6 metres of chain around every day. Every time the wind changes, we're disturbing that whole bay with more boats. So I'm happy with the application in its present form.
So what I can do then is I can put forward to the vote the amended motion. Or just the motion, it's just the motion. I'd like to put then forward the motion. Those in favour of?
Sorry,
you
need to give Councillor Gibson an opportunity.
Oh, opportunity to close,
I
sorry.
think I've pretty much said everything, but I'd just like to reiterate that this proposal is not following the performance criteria because it is not minimising it or definitely not avoiding adverse impacts on natural assets. I think it's not our job to redesign it, but you can see quite clearly that there's other ways of achieving the same goal without. And if it was a house and somebody was asking that they wanted to be, within a waterway, we would say, no, you have to relocate the house out of the waterway. That's all we're saying here. We're saying you need to look at this again and relocate your net maintenance area away from the waterways and coastal protection area. It's that simple. It doesn't meet the performance criteria.
Sorry. So now what I'll do is put that to the vote. All those in favour of the motion, that's before you, please raise your hand. That are for the motion. We have Councillor Gibson, Councillor Mrozek and Councillor Armstrong. And those against is Councillor Robertson, Councillor Jessup, Councillor Doyle, Councillor O'Neill and Councillor Burgess. So we go back to,
Through your Mayor, Councillor Robertson foreshadowed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moving the original motion.
So can I move the original motion with an addition at the end of point 1 that would read, all works including the placement of fill material, rock armour, batters and the final reclaimed platform must be contained wholly within the Crown land lease area applicable to the site. Prior to commencement of works, the applicant must provide to the planning authority a survey plan prepared by a licensed surveyor showing 1, the boundaries of the Crown land lease area, 2, the proposed extent of all reclamation works including batters and rock armour, and 3, confirmation that all works will be contained within the lease boundaries.
can I ask that through to you, Scott? If that's okay to add that?
Through your Mayor.
Patty, no? You happy with what, you've got what Amy gave? We have a copy, okay. All right, so then I can put that now.
Again, that's opened up for
Debate,
discussion.
okay.
We
You
get a
haven't-
second?
Yeah, second,
Oh,
and then
yes,
you haven't
okay.
raised any issues.
Yep, okay. Do I have a seconder for Councillor Robertson's, Councillor Burgess? Yep, Councillor Burgess, yes. And now I'll open it up, yes?
I wanted to add those words, recognising Councillor Mrozek had also identified this potential issue when looking at a diagram on, I think it's about the second page of the report, that appears to show the batter or of the edge of the platform underwater outside the lease and licence boundary. So that's obviously not okay to place rocks or fill outside your land. And it may just have been the way that drawing was sketched. But by putting the condition in there, we're being really upfront and deliberate that that's the constraint and the expectation. I've got a few other comments or questions around it, and maybe we might even find that we can tweak the proposal to be a little bit better if we.
Actually, another point of order sort of thing. Was there did I see circulated another amendment to the motion to add something in about the review of the bridge or something? Oh, did you email?
That's in there.
Oh, has that already gone in there, or is that?
That's in there.
That's in this document here? Sorry, okay, thank you.
There's been no further amendment proposed to that, has there? No.
There were some suggestions, through your Mayor, some suggestions that I put forward in response to some of the comments that were made, obviously outside of this meeting, but whether they moved or not, I'm not sure.
That's maybe what I'm thinking. I'll go and find them, sorry. Yep.
I raised my hand before, just as Councillor Robertson was formulating the additional, the addition to point 1 of the recommendation. I raised my hand because I wanted to clarify if this would be the point to raise another add-on or addition to the condition to the conditions of the report, or would I amend the amended motion?
So through you, Mayor, there are 2 options available to you. There is one which Councillor Robertson has just opened the door on in respect of raising that as an issue as to whether that would be acceptable to the mover and seconder of the motion. Otherwise, you would put that as a separate amendment.
Okay.
I'm happy for you to flag your,
I think maybe it's better to do it separately because my addition would be in to additional requirements to condition 3, not to number 1 of the recommendation.
Lucas then still be the,
No, he's not the second. Councillor Burgess seconded.
I just raised my hand
Oh,
because I wanted to
yeah.
kind of cut in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was understood.
right, yep,
Councillor Rozak
Yep.
now has the floor.
Yep.
He can move an amendment
okay.
at this point.
Okay, so in addition to Councillor Robertson's amendment, let me just scroll my document, excuse me. So I would suggest following amendment to condition 3. I talked to the background author, my reasoner about it afterwards, if you allow. So I would like to include two additional requirements, one of which would be based on historical evidence, a survey on current presence of DDD in Hospital Bay to be conducted and findings to be reported to the planning authority. And pending the survey and the degree of contamination, a risk assessment addressing sediment disturbance and activation of dispersal of DDT from construction to be submitted for approval to the planning authority. I'm raising this issue, I would like to include this in the original to the original recommendation. As the issue of DDT came to my attention through one of the representations, I looked into the HE Huon Estuary Study 10A. So they did a lot of research about concentrations levels in sediment and in water and how this can affect marine life and public health in general. DDT, as we know, is not a substance to joke about, and historical evidence shows that there's, I think the report said 180 micrograms of DDT per kilogram of sediment. How this transfers into, resolved in water, I don't know, but that's why I would like to get certainty on this issue through, first of all, a survey that would determine if DDT is still present on that site or not, and if so, if it's disturbed through those construction actions, what would the implications be for marine life, recreational fishing, and everything else that will apply. To support this, I would like to reference back to the purpose of the planning scheme, which in part 2 refers us to parts 1 and 2 of Schedule 1 of the Land Use and Planning's Approval Act. And just to not omit this, I would like to refer you to part C and F of part 2, Schedule 1. Part C names one of the objectives of the planning process to ensure that the effects on the environment are considered and provide for explicit consideration of social and economic effects when the decisions are made about the use and development of land. And F would be to promote for the health and well-being of all Tasmanians and visitors to Tasmania by ensuring a pleasant, efficient and safe environment for working, living and recreation. So that's basically my justification for raising this quite significant extra condition, but I think given the severity of DDT, it is justifiable to at least ask for the survey in the first step. And if this, depending on the result, we can take steps further. But yeah, that's the reasoning behind my addition. Thank you.
Okay. You'll need a seconder for that, and we'll also need a copy of.
You can email a copy, Councillor.
Can you email a copy of that, because we'll have to have that.
Yeah, I got with my reasoning behind it, or just the.
Through you, Mayor, we don't need the reasoning behind it.
Just
that'll just form part of it.
Yeah, and do I need it?
Can I
And
ask a quick question? So you're suggesting this is an adjustment to the construction environment management plan, or is it standalone?
Yes, exactly. Now, as an addition, because if it's covered under 3, where most of the additional requirements are listed, then condition 4 would ensure monitoring of this. So that's why I thought it would be a good idea to incorporate it under 3, which then would be monitored by condition 4. And, doesn't require any other or extra additional separate parallel reporting and so on. Would just be maybe a bit more streamlined, I thought.
Email them around, but yeah, it'll be two additional dot points to 3.
Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Armstrong. So now I go back to Lucas.
Yes, through me, if Councillor Mrozek has
Any other comments or have you?
If people are interested, or fellow councillors are interested, I read a fair bit about what's happening, what the regulations are, what the threshold levels are, and one figure that I didn't find a conversion tool online or anywhere else that would convert concentrations per kilogram of sediment to concentrations of DDT in water. But two figures that are striking is the concentration in the sediment is 180 micrograms per kilogram, and the allowable maximum tolerance for DDT in water is 0.0001. So depending on what the conversion factor is, that could be somewhere about 180,000 times more. Or I don't know, that's speculation, I shouldn't say that. But where I'm heading with this is, this needs to be clarified. How much is there? What effects does it have if it's disturbed? And can we be confident enough that it's not going to be doing any harm?
Yes, Councillor Burgess.
Can I just ask, is that concentration in water, is that for drinking water?
No, that's freshwater and marine water guidelines from the Australian.
And that's a safe measure?
Yes, I can refer you to the website. I've got too many tabs open here, just a second. That's the Australian and New Zealand Environment and Conservation Council and Agriculture and Resource Management Council. They have released water quality guidelines, and that's where I got those figures from. They are different for freshwater and for saltwater, and they make a clear distinction between freshwater species and marine water species. But yeah, there was a fair bit of information available. How this exactly translates or converts, I don't know, but it would be good to get some information about that.
Is that an EPA question?
Beg your pardon?
Is that a question for the EPA?
Is that a question for the EPA, or
Through me.
would they have thought they would have already?
Yeah, obviously the information was provided to the EPA, so they would have hopefully considered it, given that information. And while I'm talking, I just want to get through you, Mayor, just a clarification. So I'm looking at the word, or I'm trying to sort of envisage the wording. I just want to make sure that it might be telling someone to suck eggs, but to be very clear that the risk assessment will likely then make recommendations, mitigation, recommendations, that those then need to be fed back into the CEMP. And I know it's under, but I'm just worried that, and having also managing compliance, I know how these things can be, looked at from a legal perspective. So we just need to be clear in the wording to say that whatever recommendations are made in that risk assessment to mitigate the risk need to be included in the CEMP, and then obviously it's captured by the CEMP, must be implemented entirely. So just that little loop to say it must be included in.
Okay, so that would be basically in my second dot point addition.
Second dot point, yeah, that risk assessment.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I add that in.
Okay, so now, yes, Councillor.
So Mayor, I think to some extent what you're asking for could be covered potentially, and I'll take the compliance issue there, that, the construction plan item 10.4 says measures to ensure the safety of construction work and the general public. I do have a concern. I'll talk about the main motion about the sediment there. There's been ships tying up there since 1960s. It's been an industrial site since 1890s. I think we just need to assume that there is all sorts of stuff sitting on the seabed, be it lead, mercury, blah, blah, blah. And I think some of the emails that we talked about was, so what is the mitigation for that? And I think I'd rather just say, let's assume that there's a whole heap of nasties there that we need to make sure don't get into the environment. So can we safely do that? Now, I'm not an expert, and this is where, I've read some of the reports and they sort of say that they can, but this is where we have to rely on the staff to manage that. I don't think we can deny it on the basis there might be, and I know you're not suggesting that, Councillor Morshak, you're suggesting that we measure it, but I think there's do we specify it down to just one nasty? Whereas I think we should be saying that there should be a whole heap of measures to make sure that all the nasties don't get out.
Including,
Aluminium, arsenic, it's,
not exclusively, but
yeah, that's right. Now, you can't ask somebody to measure for all those things either, because I don't know, that would be probably a pretty difficult thing to do. But I'd assume the worst, yeah. So I'm sort of suggesting against it, but we make sure that we enforce the construction management plan very,
Well, I think that's what that says in there, that they will be
yeah.
doing that. Yes, councillor.
Yeah, so I don't recall seeing DDT mentioned in the supporting consultants reports, but they do mention recent testing and arsenic, copper and nickel. So that sort of goes to that point about, like, we know there's yucky stuff on the bed of the bay. And my reading of those supporting reports was that the intent is to manage the site, that whatever the yucky stuff is, it's got to be managed. And so we've got an expert opinion about how to manage that. And there appears to be confidence in terms of the techniques that are used, just reading through the report, I've found it reassuring in terms of it's not just we'll do this and she'll be right. There's the monitoring provision, and we've set up that council will approve that. So there's a subsequent step. I think there's a question of, there's a very valid question of what happens if stuff goes wrong. And it is, what if we get a low pressure system forecast to come through that's going to dump 80 mils of rain, and they're in the middle of putting stuff in the hole? Like, is there an emergency backup plan for what you do if things are deteriorating? So I think there's, I guess I'm saying, I don't think we actually need to go into the specifics of doing the sampling and another double check there. I think the planning is already predicated on there being nasties in there. Right. Thank you. Yes?
Through you, Mayor. Sorry. I find it really odd that in a report it's brought out 3 chemicals, 3 mineral deposits that might be present, when it was actually a pulp mill for 100 years, give or take, and they would have used pesticides to kill the bugs before they harvested. I find it really odd that there was no DDTs or any like sort of substances that would have showed in that report. That's just really odd for me, because out of all of them, there would still be sediment of that, because it hangs around for years before it goes. So that makes me question more about why has it not been named as something in the report.
I wonder if it was because it was removed in the first instance when they done the first hard stand. And yeah, maybe.
Well, no, because it stays in sediment and rock, and it can take 60 and 70 years to get to an acceptable level. So for them to identify 3 and not to identify the primary use of the site, which would have involved a lot of pesticides.
I can say that they didn't use any pesticides there at all. It was never used in the process, never used for any reason at all when the pulp was there. All the DDT came from the apple growers, all the way down the Ewan, just everything drained into the Ewan and it all went down there and settled. Same in Cygnet, it's covered in DDT. And I think it's only been around since the Second World War, and I think it was barred about 1990, so.
1991, Orchardist was still a user, but 1986 it was banned Australia-wide.
So we've got to remember, this is the Commandy River, and it goes a long way up through a lot of orchards. And there's a lot of drains and stuff going to that river.
Yes, councillor Gibson.
I think Councillor Jessup put his finger on it when he said you see what you find what you look for, and I'm wondering whether we should change the structure of the construction, what's it called, CEMP, so that the independent expert is engaged by council and at the expense of the developer, and again that the monitoring is to give a level, I guess, just and give an extra level of independence to ensure that, you know, we can actually ask the expert, we want you to look into this and make sure that things are looked at properly, and the safety of our people is actually paramount. I think that sort of extra level of independence might make a difference.
Well, for the applicant and us. For both the applicant and us.
That's right.
Not just-
Yeah, that's right.
Just
Yeah.
it's transparent and
Now the DA.
Yes, I did ask Lyle this, and he said we do.
Could amend condition 4, just so something along those lines. Yeah, so I think I provided it. Did I provide it on that one?
did in the end.
But we could say that that we could do. I do have some concerns because obviously there's development of a scope, there's all that. So it's the mechanisms of how we do that, who's responsible for determining the final scope and whatever. But practically, in terms of this, we could amend that condition to say that council would do the process. But again, I'll put it to you, councillor, through your mayor, sort of who's agreeing on the scope, what does that scope look like, etc.
But isn't it better for council as an independent body to be setting the scope rather than the applicant?
Through your mayor, yeah, sure, I hear the point. Yep. So I understand what you're saying. Yep.
But I think you're determining the scope, because according to the second paragraph in 4, inspection frequency and timing must be in accordance with the schedule determined by council. So I think we're
already doing a bit of it.
Well, through there, the scope would really be defined by the CEMP. So we'd be looking at the CEMP and going, okay, this is what it recommends. Therefore, the independent monitoring component would then be defined by that management plan.
So we're enforcing what one consultant said to do to the other consultant, basically.
Yeah.
We're just the middleman. Yeah.
Closing on the amendment and then putting the amendment. And then if the amendment is carried, it becomes motion is put.
Yep.
If
And then not,
it
it goes
was,
back.
then we revert back to the motion and it'd be.
Which was Amy's shadow.
Do we have the final wording of council?
Sorry, didn't I not include all the councillors?
I
think I
it
sent
never
it
came
through.
through.
I just sent it through. My apologies.
thank you, through Mayor. I think the importance of this is it's a major business that's in the water. It's controversial at best. We are talking about altering a coastline. We're talking about lots of things that could be, we don't know because we don't know everything. I think if we can grasp every bit of information that we can actually grasp, that might give us some more insight into something while still remaining in, and let's, because we all know that I like to step out of this thing quite often, but I'm trying to stay in it. I think it's just peace of mind for community, for us, and for the applicant, knowing that everything has been done within the boundaries of where it needs to be done to satisfy everybody.
We've got to remember, we're not looking at the fish farm.
No, I'm not.
We're looking at
But this is what I'm saying though, because it's going to be used for nets and for other things. But overall, we are allowing an applicant to change a coastline, which is a pretty big thing. You know, if a homeowner.
But it's already changed. hasn't it?
or partially.
Tidying it up a bit.
Well, just, but it's still, it's still, like I've learned from my previous mistakes with questioning too much and ending up on the wrong thing. I want to know as much as I can about what I can without going outside the legislation or any of the codes. But I want to know, I want to know a little bit more about where the EPA falls with this, and it would have been good to have had some info.
Yeah, but they have. They've said it's a level 1, not a level 2. They've
Yeah,
said that in there.
But that's what they said, but we haven't got any information to say that that's what they said. Or you have the information to say
No,
that's what they
No,
said.
it's in the papers.
attachment in the-
Yeah, it's in the attachment.
Oh, I didn't say that. I
Yep.
just missed that with my bleary-eyed evening reading.
So at the moment, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to put Councillor Rozak's motion, amended motion,
A diagnostic report.
Right.
So
You can speak to it before I do that.
did
Yep.
council just want to include other, you were talking about heavy metals and other things. Do we want to be more broad is the question?
I suppose, Mayor, I'm looking at 3.1 and 2, and I think that already talks about siltation control. And we know that DDT is sitting in the silt. It's not floating in the water. It's sitting on the bed. And sediment management is there. So I think the mechanism is already there. I suppose the issue for me is, are the reports that we're going to sign off to going to actually ask for the right things to be measured? So I'm wondering if we don't already have enough control through Lyle to say not only are the 3 sediments that they've identified, but this other report didn't seem to come through their consultants, it came through representatives. So I think we need to give them that report and say, you also need to look for any risk around DDT. And again, I just assume it's there. I take Councillor O'Neill's point that there's all these anchor chains stirring it up anyway, but that's a different issue. Yeah, and how they monitor, I don't know how they monitor it. Do they have floating water samplers or something? But I think three, yeah, well, that's sort of what I'm saying. Is I think 3 is already saying we can do all that stuff. We've already got the power that we sign off the schedule, so there's no reason why we can't say we want evidence that you're monitoring this, and this. And I'm sure staff will take this conversation.
And I think that he did say in there that they have, when they have been monitoring, they have found things and they've made them correct them. That's already happened in, I think I read in there. Is that correct, Director? You know, like this, they are always looking and checking on things that they have asked them to do. And if they're not being done the way they've told them they will do, that it has been corrected. So they are monitoring. It's not something that they're not doing already.
So to Paul's point, I'm not expert enough to know what to ask for.
Me either. That's where I was going with it, I
I just
think.
was wondering whether you thought that Councillor Mrozek's amendment should be broadened to say toxins including, potential toxins including.
I only kind of focused on DDT because the Huon Estuary study identified that those were the only ones that went in significant exceedance of guidelines.
We also know that aluminium was in excess there, and I reckon mercury would be as well. But
I don't see any reason to be exclusive. I think that, you know.
But I think we've already got that.
But from my perspective, I didn't want to put any other bigger burden on the applicant. You know, look for what I think is the biggest threat, and that's why I focused it on that.
Okay.
So I'm now going to ask
Who seconded that?
Councillor Armstrong. So I'm now going to ask you, do you want to close on your amended motion?
I think the only thing that I want to say is that the initial marine environmental report did not give me the confidence, especially not after one of the representations brought this DDT issue up to the front. I think that this report is, not providing all the information that it should. Given the history of the site, this suitably qualified person should have known to look for DDT and include it in there. And that would have been all that it needed for me to be happy about it, you know, but we don't know, and that's why I want to know.
Thank you. All right, so I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour of the amended motion of Councillor Mrozek, please raise your hand. That's Councillor Gibson, Councillor Mrozek and Councillor Armstrong. Those against, please raise your hand. That's Councillor Robinson, Jessup, Doyle, O'Neill and Burgess. So that's been lost. We go back to the foreshadowed motion.
You go back to the motion.
I go back to the motion.
I'd like to propose an amendment along the lines of what I was discussing before, that the independent person is appointed by council and at the cost of the applicant, and as with the part for the independent expert who's, what are they called, to inspect and to maintain, make sure that the CMP is implemented correctly.
Do I have a seconder for that? You're seconding that?
No, we're not asking anyone to stop working on this. We're just wanting to make doubly sure.
That's right.
You know, we're not saying, no, we can't do it. We would just like a tad more info.
So that would read,
What's
so,
the change?
so the first paragraph in four
Yeah.
would read, council must engage at the cost of the developer, a suitably qualified independent, blah, 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 blah.
So are we saying that ours are not qualified?
No,
No.
the current, yeah, the current motion, Mayor, says the developer must engage a suitably qualified. So all we're saying is we'll engage.
We're going to engage them.
Mayor, I just want to clarify, so that's only for condition for which the independent monitoring, so that's the construction environmental management plan will still be developed by the applicant, and then the independent, so that's what I wanted to clarify from an administration.
3
How
and
much
4.
workload would that create
I did ask
for you?
It's, well, there's a procurement process, obviously we'll have to follow a procurement process for that. So there's
it
a,
will be at the cost of the developer.
the cost, the financial resource will be borne by the developer, the process, the time and the staff will
We'll
be.
charge them our costs for that as well? We'll recover our costs?
Yes, I'm trying to look at our fee schedule, but yeah, I'm sure we can find a fee.
Okay. Yeah, and they'd have to do the work anyway, so somebody's gonna have to do the procurement.
It's not as if council staff wouldn't have to manage a lot of it anyway.
Yeah.
But
And it changes the balance of
does
power slightly.
increase the load a little. I agree.
But it doesn't hold the DA up.
No.
So there's no
Why wouldn't it
change.
hold the DA up?
But
Because it's
they
got to
have
be
to appoint
procurement.
No,
somebody.
anyway.
Yeah, they have,
But we'd have to go out for,
Depending on the value of the contract, yeah. we'd
yes, we'd
follow
have
up
to
with
go
them.
out, back out to get the person, so it would hold up the process.
so could we then change it, or by saying something like, the developer must engage a suitably qualified and independent expert
Approval of.
approved by council? Or can we just give us a veto power?
How do we approve it? It's, I
Well,
mean,
they'd have to ask Lyle, and Lyle would say, yeah, they're okay.
Sorry, do we not already have that in 3?
Yeah.
Prior to commencement,
Yes.
a SEMP must be developed for approval by the planning authority.
Yeah.
So
It's there.
applicant responsible for creating the brief and engagement, and we approve it.
for me, it's about who pays the fees of the consultant, and because
Sure.
that's the issue.
Point number 4 already says suitably qualified and independent expert. There has to be a point at which
Yeah.
whoever the professional is, voids their professional indemnity insurance and gets their reputation raked through the muck if they skip a few steps or whatever.
Not that we would ever know. I mean, the thing is,
Anyway,
we,
before you manage it.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah.
no, we wouldn't know if things had been disturbed that we didn't know about. I mean, if work would just happen.
What if it was being monitored?
All inspection reports must be submitted directly to council within 5 business days.
And the schedule's approved by us, so if we're saying they have to inspect it weekly, they have to inspect it weekly. speak to you. So. And
See, I think you don't get a little bit confused. I mean, you've got the CEMP, which has got to report to us, but aren't you asking for a separate monitoring of the water and the silt?
No.
No, nothing different?
No, that's
So why not
what
just leave it the same then?
I just wanted for it to be, those people to be employed by council, so that when we ask,
I think we can trust them, can't we?
does that move the risk to us as well, I suppose? That if it goes wrong, it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Regulatory.
Yeah, it does.
Are you hiding over there under the table? Are you?
Yeah.
I think it's covered then, if that's in the CEMP.
So, are you moving that?
Well, it's been moved and seconded.
Well,
Let's first vote on it. I still think it's a good
Put the
idea.
motion.
all right. I put the motion. Councillor Gibson, Councillor Morozek and Councillor Armstrong.
Councillor Jessup.
Yes.
I've got an open mind.
Fair enough.
Those against Councillor Robertson, Councillor Jessup, Councillor Doyle, Councillor O'Neill, Councillor Burgess. And the motion is, and the amendment is lost. And we go back to the motion.
I would suggest you invite Councillor Robertson to close.
What about open?
Yes.
I haven't opened on the
She's talking
motion.
about every other motion except that one.
I got overtaken by amendments and I have not yet opened discussion on the core motion.
All right, go for it.
Right, okay. I started speaking about why I wanted to add those words around the northwestern boundary. So I won't go further on that. I found the application to be quite concise. And I felt that perhaps more justification on why this development was needed and designed the way it was or has been proposed would assist in evaluating that minimised criteria. But I did find enough detail in the Burberry and Marine Solutions reports to answer the criteria as explained in the planner's report, particularly Councillor Gibson around that waterways code and minimising impacts on natural values. I've mentioned the insufficient extent of the Scenic and Coastal and Waterway Protection Code overlays. Question, if we want to see or approve safety information in the construction management plan, does that give council potential liability should a safety incident occur later?
Will I pass that one through to you?
Through you, Mayor, I might rely on General Counsel.
Through you, Mayor, you cannot answer that question. Liability is a question relating to a particular incident which happens at any particular time. So you could speculate about liability of putting any condition onto any permit. So at that point in time, your consideration is the condition relevant to the planning scheme or not? Liability is not an issue which is associated with making a planning decision, other than when you're stepping outside the planning scheme.
So we've got safety as the first point under 10, measures to ensure the safety of construction workers and the general public. Do we want to delete that if we can't enforce it through the planning scheme? Is that what you said?
No.
That's not what he said.
Through you, Mayor, the question was asked, does that give rise to any liability to the council? So if you're asking a question of do we have the ability to enforce a condition of a planning permit, then if that isn't appealed and is the final thing, the answer is yes, we do have the ability to enforce it through LUPA. If we fail to enforce, then there may be a question of liability, which is subject to the provisions of the Civil Liability Act, which is subject to a large number of considerations, which includes council resourcing, the nature of the matter, and so on.
So I'm back to, like, should that condition be in there or not? safety wasn't, I didn't see that in any of the planning scheme criteria. And yeah, so it certainly would be, Safety Act, and, you know, there'd be a responsible person who has to sign off on all that, but maybe it's not our place to put that in.
But it also gives us a lever if we feel that things are going awry, we can quote that condition. And particularly, you know, given that we've been talking about sediment flow and, you know, not polluting the environment for the users of the bay, it gives us the ability to ask questions at least.
I'm happy if you say, no, it's fine.
Yeah, I've got you, Deb.
That's cool.
I like making sure staff are earning their pay. Try doing that.
Through you, Mayor, certainly are. Yeah, through you, Mayor. So obviously the wording is endorsement, not approval. So it's a slightly different meaning. In other words, we're not approving or not. We're just saying, yep.
We have no objection.
We have no objections, you know. So I'm just pointing that out. I hear your point. I'll look to my colleague, see if he has any further points.
Yes, safety is a common thing in the construction management plan. And
To have it in there.
yes, that's involved the methodologies, and yes, I probably won't be able to point to the specific cause in the planning scheme. Since as a planning authority, we have the duty of the statutory responsibility to require safety-related measures. But this one, it's hard to say.
Okay, all right. I'll take that as it's not a problem. The bridge loading, I'm a little bit nervous that we might be handballing that. It's our asset, it's our responsibility. Again, this is a little bit like the question of whether you have an independent expert to monitor, like who pays the monitor of the CEMP. But yeah, I'm nervous about handballing off the responsibility to assess the bridge condition.
But they are expert bridge people that inspect our bridges, aren't they?
Through your mayor,
But it actually is our bridge rather than their construction project for the
Correct.
reclamation.
through your mayor, it's our bridge, and we said in the condition it has been designed in accordance with Australian standards, so they are capable of carrying ordinary traffic. But given we're unsure about their construction methodology, which may involve heavy machinery, which may exceed the capacity of the bridge, therefore that's why we're asking to assess the construction part of their construction methodology assessment. All construction activities must be considered the bridge loading capacities to ensure the protection of this infrastructure, which means if they propose to use a huge crane, which exceeds the loading capacity, they have to take that into consideration and not use that kind of machinery unless they done a proper assessment to confirm the bridge, yes, it's designed to the certain bridge loading, but through certain mitigation measures, they still can take this piece of equipment, or they have to find an alternative piece of equipment that within the limit of the bridge.
Okay, thank you. There's, under the advice part of the end of the motion, the Aboriginal heritage assessment says is to be undertaken, but this is sitting in an advice spot. Do we need to maybe shift it up to being one of the CEMP clause points?
I think it's been done, hasn't it?
I didn't see that it had been done. There was some advice given that they should do an Aboriginal site survey.
Why was advice?
Through you, ma'am.
Yes.
There's no provision in the scheme for us to condition that. Well, that's the recommendation I give you.
Okay.
And so that's why the Aboriginal Heritage Assessment gave a record of advice.
Yep.
And we've included that advice. And there's a separate act that will administer that, which is not LUPA.
And I'll just finish off with a comment that I did some Googling and about the DDT and identifying that, yeah, it's not in the water column free flowing. It's attached to sediment. It occurred to me there could be other chemicals, PFAS as a firefighting chemical come to mind for me. But it occurred to me that it's a little bit like asbestos. It's stuff we've got. We've got it in the bathroom or the shack or the school or whatever. And we manage it. We know, there are some walls you can't hammer a nail in. You've got to keep painted. And if you're going to do something more substantial to the wall, then you have some greater actions. And it struck me that the prescriptions that came through those consultants' reports, Marine Solutions and Burberry, they appeared to be professionally tackling that silt management issue.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just say, just on that, I mean, I've heard there's been some differing views and good conversation around it. I think that there's a general consensus and a reasonable concern that there is nasties in the sediment there from a range of factors. You can go and monitor. We've already had a vote on this. You could go and monitor a whole range of water quality analytes and do that. The third dot point under part 3, which is water turbidity. Turbidity is the sediment that's suspended in the water column. The point of this is that performs that catch-all. So the nasties, whatever they are, and you're exactly right, PFAS, et cetera, they're bound. They're bound to that sediment. So the turbidity, monitoring increase of turbidity outside of the curtains is the proxy, the catch-all that says if turbidity is increased, nasties are also increasing because they're bound up with that. That's the point of that. If it gives any comfort, you can still, go on considering all the range of analytes, et cetera, and the nasties. But that's what that turbidity point is designed to do. Catch all.
I'm actually going to say one more thing. Don't swim in the river when it's been raining, because that DDT from up on the hills is potentially still coming down, as well as whatever else.
I probably did all my life. Yeah. But anyway, yes, Deb.
No, I'm good, thanks. Director Frank answered it for me.
Okay, thank you. All right, so, yes.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm the one that wants to get away early, remember? Look, I just want to ask a couple of questions. So there's many players in the management of the aquaculture industry, and I quite agree that we're not doing that assessment. We're talking about this. As somebody pointed out, it's been an industrial site since the 1890s. And I don't agree with some of the representatives to say that this is a substantial increase in the use of it, just what they're saying, what the applicant's saying. But that does raise a question that, the applicant's staff move on and somebody else comes in, another bloke comes in, and suddenly we find that there's 3 containers piled high on the edge of the water and they're doing some manufacturing. What comeback does a community have to that in terms of what they've written here in the application? So then suddenly if there is a much more significant change, can they then ring up the council and can we then go and say, well, that's not what you put a DA in for? I see nodding. Is that
Inspections would do?
Well, this is 2 years' time or something after the event, but that's a compliance issue, isn't it? That we would.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. Yeah, it is a compliance issue, and there's a number of pathways you can take compliance. So there's LUPA in terms of it's an activity that hasn't got a permit, so it's outside of what's been permitted for the site. But there's also the Local Government Act in terms of nuisance abatement. So if it's a visual nuisance, a noise nuisance, an odour nuisance, we can also take it through that pathway. So there are mechanisms for us to control.
I note that you've put the light dark sky standard in there. Thank you for doing that, because that's certainly, talking to people at the Port Huon Association, that has been an issue. But to their credit, I think that the association approached the company, the applicant, and they actually did do a light study and they did actually change some of the lighting. So hopefully they're a little bit more aware of it. But again, if they're putting up spotties and they do shine across the bay very brightly, and I think there's an opportunity there. I think odour is something that we just need to monitor. I don't know what their licence requires odour management anyway, but that's come up a lot, so we probably need to watch that. So that's sort of one question. Thank you that there are measures that the public can respond to, and I think this council is open to having an active engagement with the applicant and saying not happy. The other one, and I think we've answered this, and thank you for the many emails backwards and forwards over the last 3 or 4 days, and thank you to the staff who were answering them at 10 o'clock at night or whatever it was. I am really genuinely concerned about the sediment disruption, and this is all across the Derwent River, the Tamar River. It's a major issue in Tasmania because we, for many years, used our rivers as industrial drain pipes. And look, I just have to rely that the consultants are setting the right standard and our staff are able to monitor it, because. And I think the industry is much more aware. The construction industry is more aware of this now. So I think, I just hope that works. So, and I think that my final point, Mayor, is I'm pretty sure all of the staff have heard the discussion that we've had here and the concern that the councillors have about making sure that this is done well. And I think I take the point from Councillor Gibson that if this was a house, we'd be, saying all sorts of things, but for me, under our land use, this is industrial land. So it's quite clearly, we all agreed to that 2 years ago. And I think the conditions that we've put on here, I think the standard house builder would get very pale and fall over. So I think, it is industrial land. It's been used for a long time as industrial land. We have put in some pretty strict monitoring. There are pathways for the community to raise intensification of use if it is. And I can't find a legal reason not to support this. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, everybody, I think, it's been great. We've had some good conversation here. Councillor Robinson, unless someone else has got something to say, I'd like you to close. If you want to close your...
I don't need to close.
Okay?
Yeah,
all right.
great discussion.
All right, so I put that we accept the recommendation. Just put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's Councillor Robertson, Councillor Jessup, Councillor Armstrong, Councillor Doyle, Councillor O'Neill and Councillor Burgess, and those against is Councillor Gibson and Councillor Mosey. So the motion has been carried. So thank you very much, everybody, for that really mindful and respectful debating of that topic, which was always going to be difficult. So thank you very much. I advise that the council is no longer acting as a planning authority as at 7:49 p.m.
Somebody let Councillor talk.
Oh, forgot about him. Sorry, Councillor Thorpe.
I'm just going to adjourn the meeting just for a moment. I have to stand up and let my leg move a bit. Sorry, guys. It's been just to
Just said I forgot about council.
just make sure my chair doesn't slip out from under me.
I thought the Mayor was going to read the motion to us.
So I reconvene the meeting at 7:58. Mayor Doyle will be an apology for the remainder of the meeting and the CEO will return in due course. So we are general reports, recommendation 11.010/25. Do I have a councillor to move a motion that the general reports and minutes for the period of 1 to 30 September 2025 be received and noted? Councillor Gibson and a seconder. Councillor Jessup. Councillor Gibson, would you like to speak to the motion?
I just would like to quickly run through some of the points that I picked out of the general reports. I had a question about the Kingborough and Huon Small Business Centre. I feel like it's lost some visibility in the Huon, so I was wondering what the cost to council is, how we maximise benefits, can we do more to advertise the services, what percentage of the 1,500 subscribers are Huon versus Kingborough, and can we maybe do something to increase that? I don't expect an answer particularly, but I just think it's something we pay for, and I think it's quite a good service. Let's hope that we're getting as much value as we can out of it. In weed management, I was wondering whether there's a plan, and I'm sure there is, to push out in the media how, because of the time of year, a bit of citizen science around keeping the eyes on identifying weeds and dealing with them early. In strategic planning, it's already been mentioned, but for anybody who's watching from the Cygnet area, there's the first meeting for the structure plans this coming Saturday, 2 to 4. Really good to see that rolling out, and Huonville 1 as well. I did have a question in work, health and safety, because I actually attended a keynote speech from Dean Yates on moral injury, and it was absolutely fascinating. So I wondered which staff member from council attended and how the information from that is being disseminated to ELT and council in general.
The seminar again, sorry.
Moral injury, Dean Yates.
Dean Yates.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. Sorry. I'm not aware of that session. We did have quite a few of us that attended the Work Safe Tasmania events this month.
I think it was, it would have been Work Safe Tasmania, yeah.
Okay, I was actually away when a lot of those events were held, so I can find out and get back to you.
I don't really need to know, but I would really encourage the import of that to be spread around the ELT. I think
Would you mind emailing me the title and I'll contact WorkSafe Tasmania and then disseminate it, because there were a lot of staff who did attend those events.
Except there was one staff that went, but I didn't know.
I'll be able to find that out and go from there. As I said, there were a lot of staff that did go to those WorkSafe Tasmania events this month, because it is that month, and we did do a lot of activities across council to highlight all the aspects of work health and safety and a lot of reminding and things like that. So we did do a lot of activities per unit here in council. So that would be really good if you could share that.
I will do that. In planning, I was just looking at the graph, and it shows our planning approvals are down, about 40 plans per annum, whereas the number of no pays are going up by a sort of similar amount. I don't know why that would be the case, and do we have any understanding about why that might be the case and what the no pay category includes, I guess?
So no pay is where they submit an application but don't pay their employees.
Because it goes ahead, or do we assess?
It's not a valid application until the invoice.
Okay, so it's just not a valid. So that would actually increase the number of, decrease the number of approvals coming through. It'll be even lower than it is now. Seems like quite a decrease in the number of plans going through. I was just from a point of economic development, I was interested in that statistic.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. What I'll do is I'll take it on notice. So I can give you, what I can do is look at the underlying data and get you a description of how each metric is calculated, and then you can see what that data means, and then I'll do a bit of analysis to understand sort of what's driving that. Sometimes, to be honest, it's seasonality. We sometimes do see a dip, and then it ramps up just before Christmas, because for whatever reason, everyone wants to do things before Christmas, and then it will calm down again in January and again. So we do expect to see differences in the graph as we proceed.
Under the halls, I'd just like to thank all of the committee volunteers, because we've had all the AGMs and they've all been closed. Just thank all the volunteers for all the work, and really encourage them to stay involved with the halls, specifically around activating them. And I think volunteering around the halls is fantastic, and it creates vibrant, engaged communities, and that's what we're all trying to do. So I think that's good. I think that was really all from me. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Any other questions? Councillor Jessup?
Thank you, Deputy Acting Chair, Deputy Mayor, or whatever the official title is, Acting Mayor today. Yep. A couple of things. The workshops that we ran, I noticed there was one on the dark sky stuff, which, thank you, that's one of my pet things I'd like to preserve down in the Valley, so I'm glad to see that sort of working through to some workshops. The weed management stuff, I had a bit of a Facebook discussion with somebody complaining that we do nothing about weed management down here, and I did say that we have point out of a staff member who's pretty busy, but it's good to see in this document that we've actually identified an invasive species and we're dealing with that, and we're doing some other stuff as well, so I'm very glad about that. And on the halls, was it this meeting or next meeting that we were going to get a bit of feedback around how all the halls were going in terms of their who's formed committees and things like that? So maybe let's not do it tonight, but maybe if we can have something at the next meeting, maybe to just give us a quick update of how many have formed as committees or. They could form as independent committees, associations, well, yeah, whatever you want to call it, yep, and stuff like that.
Is it in community place highlights, the first part? So it is in here,
So
Councillor.
there's all halls of transition space to AGMs, handover transitions also commenced, improved opportunities listed, collected, but not, we haven't sort of said, and there's, now there's 6 groups have formed into associations, unless I can't find it in
No,
the
there
report.
is
Is it a
that.
separate part of the report, is it? Sorry, I've obviously missed it. What do you mean it's easy to do? There's only 817 pages.
I
to
know.
read.
Just look at the book.
Okay, I take it then, I was saying corrected, and I will, with due diligence, reread the 817 pages until I find it.
Just take our word for it, it's all good. It was a bit of a read, wasn't it?
No, that's separate. So there's two parts in the, there's an attachment to general reports, which is a table, which is just the finances.
Page 359, is that correct?
Okay, I'm in a different part. 349. Oh, yep, sorry, okay. I must have been asleep when I skipped over that bit. That table.
11.6 general information. So that's a table of income and expenses and just the transition that's going on. But there is also, and I'm sure it's in community place highlights, was the actual number of communities that had formed independent associations.
I'll take it on notice and I'll get it and we'll circulate it in the minutes.
I've seen it somewhere as well.
Yeah,
Just let me know the page when you've found it.
Yeah.
I'll,
Sorry, I'm a bit discombobulated at the moment.
it's been a busy day.
Yeah.
There. Page 40 of 119. And it says new community associations are formed in the following areas, and it lists the areas of those community associations.
Can you just read those then maybe?
Southport, Surges Bay, Glenhuon, Judbury, Ranelagh, North Huon, Sleeping Beauty, which encompasses Mountain River, Crabtree and Grove. Just so you know, North Huon also encompasses Ranelagh, Judbury and Lonavale, Alvarado, and then it says a plan to follow up with Craddock and Mountain River, Crabtree, Grove areas.
So
pretty well everywhere where there wasn't an active progress association like Geeveston, we've spawned.
correct. So Ange Barrington and her team have been working with the group. So there's been fresh entrants, new people have been energised, existing ex-hall committee members have persisted. Some have also chosen to leave. But yes, new independent associations have been formed right across the valley.
Except for Signet.
There's enough committees there.
Except for Signet, yes, correct.
Except for
Interesting.
Signet and perhaps outlying areas, so sort of Wattle Grove or down.
But there were no.
Yeah.
So Franklin, I noticed haven't got one, but they've got the Franklin Association or something, and then Geeveston and stuff. But can we look? I'd just like to note thanks to the hard work that Ange has done. I've had some really good feedback that she's been engaging, and it's been great to see us sort of get that back on track for people.
I was really interested at the AGM at Pelverada because I was on that committee. Very small committee, probably 2, 3, 4 people would attend. And at the very last meeting when Jared and Angela were there, it was almost a full house, which was amazing. So I think people probably didn't realise how they would become involved in halls and committees. And I think now they realise that they can actually be very actively involved in everything. And there was just so much enthusiasm, and it was like someone just ripped the sheet off or something, you know. And it was really really quite invigorating actually to see the excitement of starting a whole new something. So and they've gotten together already on the Sunday, but I couldn't go because I had a tooth out anyway. It was a different sort of, and they're getting together to plan what they can do and can't do, and it just sort of revitalised them without really meaning to do that. Like that wasn't the whole aim of the thing, but they've started this whole new thing.
Yeah,
It's cool.
It kind of was the aim. Like
Yeah, it was, but I mean, they thought that, you know, dissolving the committees was going to be a terrible thing and it was going to be this, that. But once they sort of wrapped their head around the new potential for not being a committee, it was like the boom gates opened. It was pretty good.
The experience has been different, and there are still many people that are really upset about the decision.
Oh, yeah.
We can only hope that by showing that this is a mechanism that makes more people feel comfortable and feel that they can participate in broader ways than just around the management of the 4 walls and a roof.
Yeah.
Is great. That's certainly what we're seeing. And to the point around Signet, we're progressing really well with the renovations to the front rooms, which I've taken councillors to. Yeah, you've seen, like, the photos don't even do it justice.
I went through the window.
You've poked through the window, as have many. And hopefully, and I know there's excitement in Signet from a lot of people who know it from when they were, years ago, and they haven't been in those front rooms for a very, very long time, and they're really keen to get back in there.
Anticipation.
So I think again, it's an opportunity for, like, when we open the doors there and invite people in. Hopefully that might stimulate, albeit there are many groups in Signet, but it might generate some interest though. Yeah.
But now they can all use it.
Yeah, and again, that's the
whole aim of the game, isn't it?
It's the broader use and broader.
It's a nice big hall.
Yeah.
She's going to look great when she's finished.
Yeah. So I still haven't found the page myself, but Lyle read it out, and we got broad coverage.
It's actually in the hard copy one, I think.
Oh, there you go. Okay, great.
He
Right.
hid it.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Gibson, any closing remarks?
No, thank you, Acting Mayor. That's all from me.
I'll put the motion. Those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors present. The motion is carried. Council workshops. CEO, would you like to advise of any workshops held?
I will take those listed as read.
Great. Councillor questions, 13.1, answers to questions taken on notice. There were two councillor questions taken on notice from September's council meeting from Councillor Gibson regarding forestry notifications of intent and Councillor Morosek regarding Huon Valley Waste Sewer Infrastructure. Responses will be included in the minutes. 13.2, there were no councillor questions given on notice. Questions without notice. Councillors, are there any questions tonight? Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Just have a question about the green bins. Would that be the correct term? Who's doing that?
Yeah. Organic bins?
Yes, the organic bins. I know it was close, like it was neck and neck, wasn't it, for the yes/no?
It's a bit more nuanced than that, but yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I was asked by somebody the other day, how are they progressing, and is it likely that we will get them?
So it's progressing with, ultimately it's a business case. It's very expensive to do. And given, we're a rural area pushing a curbside, like urban service, to have that third bin and then to be able to transport it when there is really not great facilities. So the current organic disposal opportunity is Barwick's up at Interlaken. Very long way for that curbside stuff to go. So right now, it just doesn't stack up. We know that there is enthusiasm for the service, but there's price sensitivity. We've got to get it. We've got to get that balance right, which is just like everything we do. So we are looking at, and there's a workshop the next workshop for councillors really zooms in on what are our next plays on waste. So Andrew Bourne, our business enterprise manager, will be leading that, where you'll go through a whole detailed assessment of exactly where we're up to on that. It's ultimately a business case and a whole bunch of dependencies that all need to stack up.
I did sort of explain that to them, that it would be more expensive, and a lot of people don't want the extra expense. A lot of people want the experience of being able to utilise the whole waste pickup thing. But
there's a range of it gets tricky quickly, and it'll be answered through a workshop, and then with your support, how we go and communicate this. But it's not just here's a brand new bin. There's also, we know that organics is up to 50% of a normal bin. That means that there is opportunity, and it won't work for everyone. And, we're not in the business of making everyone happy. It's impossible. But there is room for changing the frequency of our curbside red top bin, for example, and bringing in an organic bin. So that you're, defraying those costs. So there's a whole range of ways that we're looking at it to try to work out what's the right way to deliver this at the right price point.
I did sort of say that too. Perhaps there could be an alternating system.
Yep.
And just one more question. Thank you. Just one more question. I was looking at the financials, and I always pick up on the Franklin foreshore development arrangement. What happens? Does the 90-something thousand whatever balance, does that just continue on for the next 5 years now? There's a balance of 92,000 out of the original 200 something, and I noticed that it's in the 5-year mark. What happens to that money, and what happens if nothing ever gets done? Do we lose? I'm not sure how that works.
It's the outstanding grant monies. Yep.
Yeah.
So we've I'm not sure if Frank can elaborate on it, but and I'll give you some more clarity on it. But I know that we've sought an extension on that money, and are looking to repurpose it and work out what the scope of work to deliver something down there out of what was a really difficult grant process.
Which is why I keep bringing it up, because I just,
So what we're looking to do is get a clear scope and deliver it so that we can get it off the books, just to quit that grant.
That'd be good, because my next question was, is there a possibility of using that for something else, but somewhat related to what it was originally designed for?
No, it'll be used on Franklin Foreshore,
Yep.
but for what exactly?
Because that's another question I get asked a lot about my travels, the Franklin bits and pieces, but it would be a shame to not somewhat complete what's already started, so that's good, thank you. That's all for me.
Next.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to take this on notice, given the time of the night, and there might be a longish answer. But I was recently listening to a general practice practitioner who's, I think, GPs for climate effect or something like that, on ABC Radio, talking about the need for community resilience in light of the increased adverse events. And the risk of things like bushfire, and particularly sort of putting on my health and welfare subcommittee hat, which it still exists. It particularly affects youth, and I think the youth today are particularly distressed about that. So I noted the success of our recent disaster challenge involving a community activation that Dr. Malcolm Johnson, our staff member, was involved in, and that they won that, which was great. But I also know the value of those sort of community activations in building resilience and building a sense of agency over what you're doing. So I was just wondering, and I'm sure it's in all of Lyle's very good reports and his staff's very good reports, but at some point, I wouldn't mind just dot pointing some of the activities that we are doing through the environmental sustainability team to strengthen community resilience, and there's lots of workshops and things like that. But rather than spending 10 minutes to go through the list, I'm happy if you want to just write up in the minutes. But it's up to you.
Taken on notice.
Can I just say
Oh,
one thing?
sure.
Sorry.
He wants to tell us.
One. So, obviously, through your acting there, you've zoomed in on environmental sustainability, but I think I just want to acknowledge that, to your point, that the committee obviously was talking about resilience being an important thing, and actually it started in terms of our acknowledging that and restructuring the way we do business started when we restructured the council. So one of the things we've done is bring environmental sustainability and what used to be called social resilience is now called Connect Communities together under a banner, because there's a recognition that sort of resilience, those hazards go beyond the physical and into that mental psychosocial space. So it's bringing those two units, and they are working fantastically together on shared projects. So I'll give you a list of those shared projects. But really everything we do, so the livability framework, which we've endorsed and we're busy embedding at the moment, that's centered around building resilience. The asset-based community development approach that we use, which underpins is sort of the methodology, that again is recognizing communities, the assets those communities have in terms of their groups, their social connections. Again, the old school way of us running roughshod and just sort of doing a program for 3 years, and not recognizing that these things sometimes and often are in place already in communities. We're doing a whole new way of business. So environmental sustainability is only one component of a lot we're doing. So yeah, I'll give you a full list and a whole explanation.
Thank you.
Any other questions from councillors?
Thanks, Mayor.
Notice of motions. There are no notices of motions for tonight's meeting. General Council reports, 15.1, Local Government Association of Tasmania General Meeting Motions, the 20th November 2025, report number 15.039-25. I refer councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Armstrong, and a seconder, Councillor Rosick. Councillor Armstrong, would you like to speak to the motion?
I don't think so. Thank you.
Any councillors wish to speak against the motion?
I had a question, if
Yep.
that's all right, through you, Matt. It was regarding the waste motion that's to be put to the Legat. And we have currently not supporting it. I just wondered whether we could suggest a possible amendment instead. I fully understand why we would not support it as it is. But I think the gist of the motion, and I can't remember what council put it up, but was to spend some money from the waste levy to help people who are in the lower socioeconomic sort of bracket. And anecdotally, it's the households with less money that often generate more waste, and that, because of lack of education and money, they can't find alternative ways to reduce waste. So I was wondering if we could put an amendment in, or suggest an amendment in that meeting to prioritise initiatives that reduce waste for and educate people for lower income households. I think that's what I said. Prioritise initiatives so it's not giving them money, but it's prioritising initiatives that reduce waste and educate people from lower income households. That was the way it was worded in their motion. It's first a minor thing, but if everybody's sort of happy to make that change, I think it might be useful.
Would that sort of come into the second point a little bit? Like on page 37? Is that a little bit similar to the one we do support in the second box? 1, 2, 3.
What page are we on there?
Oh, 87 in the book. That's the one that's not supported, but this one, is it similar to this?
Oh, the circular economy one.
Yeah, the circular economy.
That's a different thing.
So is this the state waste levy reinvestment?
Yeah.
Oh.
Page
That's
82.
right. Yeah.
Okay. Have we just-
And it actually just says into initiatives to reduce the financial burden on low-income households. So it doesn't say through better waste management. So I think the levy
That's
should
right.
be.
That's right. It's about if we're spending this money that's being levied against waste, and it's meant to be on initiatives that reduce waste. I think that's the key, and that's good. But we could sort of target low-income households where that problem is more. So, or just prioritise. I think prioritise initiatives around that.
And I think they'd need to look at the actual legislation, because I suspect the waste levy legislation says that you can't pilfer the money for other purposes.
No.
Just otherwise government would just use it as a piggy bank.
Yeah.
And just out of interest, what would that look like? How would that?
Education on
Yeah,
spreading
education.
the waste.
Yeah, I know.
Home composting.
in that space.
I think the reality is,
Education.
for me, the reality is that there's a lot going on in that space, and councils do a lot of that general education, et cetera, et cetera. And the best thing to help the whole community, including low-income houses, is for the waste levy to stay the course and focus on sensible investment in improving waste processing and recycling opportunities, like getting scale. And I really worry about what it's delivered so far, and I worry that further fragmenting its purpose risks not doing the big ticket items that this council continues to agitate for. So that's what's going to lower the cost of waste overall far quicker than just doing more education, and to people who don't have choices. I feel like no one's creating waste just for the hell of it. We've actually got to find alternative processing and fix the waste streams themselves, and that's an everybody thing. Understand the sentiment, but I really worry about fragmenting the approach of the waste levy. that's my 2 bob anyway.
No, that's a good argument.
So
It's a discussion.
are you proposing an amendment?
No, I'll leave it. If the CEO thinks that the money's fair.
I'm honoured.
No, I was just thinking it through.
Any other questions? Councillor Armstrong, would you like to close?
No, thank you.
Perfect. I'll put the motion. Those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors, and the motion is carried. Draft Local Government Amendment Targeted Reform Bill 2025, report number 15.040-25. I refer councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Armstrong, and a seconder. Councillor Gibson.
Sorry, is this the councillor numbers one or the, no, it's the previous.
Reform Bill. Councillor Armstrong, would you like to speak to this motion? No, thank you. No? Any other councillors would like to speak to it?
No, thank you.
Okay, would you like to close?
No, thank you.
I'll put the motion then. Those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors present. The motion is carried.
Note here, thank the staff for all the attention to the detail in the local government reform, because there's a lot of work behind there. So I'd just like to thank staff for the work they've done. I think it's good.
As you say, the one staff member.
I know what's involved. There's a lot of thinking.
15.3, Draft Amendment 02-2025, State Planning Provisions, Report number 15.041-2025. I refer councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Morosek. And a seconder? Councillor O'Neill. Councillor Morosek, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Now, just briefly, I think it's been workshopped a while back. We've seen the reasoning behind supporting or not supporting the various amendments, and I think it makes sense in each case, the decision that we're supporting. So happy with it as it is. It's been workshopped and discussed lengthily, so all good from this end. Thank you.
Any councillors to speak against the motion or any questions? No. Okay, motion. We'll put the motion. Those in favour, please raise your hand. All councillors, and the motion is carried. 15.4, discussion paper, reforms to councillor numbers and allowances, report number 15.042-25. Refer councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Gibson. The seconder. Councillor O'Neill.
There was just, from the draft, I made a suggestion, and there's a typo in there. It's an indicator of commitment for commitment or competence, and it's not. I think it's in there as for. So that very minor thing, but seeing as I've put it in there, we might have it right. And I also note that the HECARC system is mentioned, still mentioned, and I have a question. So I don't fully understand why council is putting forward the HECARC system as an issue, because it seems to me that maybe the primary votes are low, but the final vote quota is still, you know, the number of electors divided by the number of elected councillors. So I don't quite understand. Through you, Mayor.
Through you, Acting Mayor, I've just got to find the part in the. Through you, Acting Mayor, the proposal for the reform was based on the primary vote, and they did not say it was based on the quota of all of that. So they were using that as a reasoning. So the reasoning for the mention of the Hare-Clark system is that, and it was amended from your comments, and deliberately so, just to point out to the government that they are the ones who select the method of election of councils. And so in the context of if it's legitimate concern, then it's a matter for the government to consider other options for those who have issues with maintaining quotas in low population councils. And the reason it was put in there was because, it's been put forward as the reason to make the decision. And yet it's not actually a justified reason when they can solve it by other means.
Yes, okay. Thank you for that explanation.
And just said, Acting Mayor said the intent was never against the Hare-Clark system.
I know, yeah.
Councillor Dewar.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. A couple of points, about 4 actually. I think you're right with the superannuation one not being supported. Many councillors are older, and I'm not sure that a lot of those would necessarily have active superannuation accounts that could still take money, because if you've converted your superannuation into an annuity, for example, you then can't receive superannuation payments. So I think that's another. I'll go back a step. This is a really badly thought through working paper, and that's another example of why it's really badly thought through. The Hare-Clark system is arguably the most democratic system of democratic voting in the world, and I think for the government to turn around and say, well, it's not representative, I think that's a real shame, and it's disrespectful to their own parliamentary processes, to be honest. I've worked a lot with boards in governance situations. The concept of having a board of 5 people who are not selected on the basis of their ability to work together, on their skills-based board principles. If you can get a board of 5, if you really work hard to get a group of people who all have a diversity of skills and really smart. Unfortunately, democracy doesn't throw those groups of people together. And could you imagine if there was only 5 of us, you'd have the mayor being impartial, a couple maybe politically aligned in one way, a couple unaligned, one person unwell on a day, it would be a disaster. And I do wonder if this is a stalking horse to put pressure on some of the smaller councils to actually make them dysfunctional, so they can then come in and.
Do you think?
Have I stated the obvious, Deb? I like stating the obvious because I think it is obvious. And there is, in all my years consulting as a management consultant, I would never say grab a random group of 5 people together, put them together, and hope to hell that they're going to function effectively. Just rubbish belief. 7, I think, 7 to 9 is probably the sweet spot. So I'm a little bit more flexible on that. But the final thing, I think, to then put these reforms under the stalking horse of saying we're going to give you a bit more money, I think is insulting to every councillor who serves on councils.
Yep.
If any of us were counting the coin that we spent, and we do get coin, and I accept that, and I didn't know that when I nominated, but I've found it out when people started telling me I was only doing it for the money, which I thought was funny. If we're valuing our hours, we'd get a few bob an hour, in reality. And yes, you can work as hard as you want to in this position. So that's one sort of issue. So offering us another couple $100 a month is neither here nor there. But the other argument to say it will open up more diversity because people will be able to do it and live off it. That's I heard the minister saying that. It's not a living wage, and let's not pretend that somebody can, quit their job and become a full-time councillor from the middle rung down. Maybe for the bigger council, maybe for Hobart, maybe. But I get the feeling that they're confusing the Tasmanian system with places like Queensland, where the councillors are actually directors of divisions and are paid a significant director's salary to run that. That's not what they're proposing. So I just think it's yet another one, yet another paper out of the Office of Local Government people that is just policy light and fact non-existent almost. So I'm well done to the staff who wrote the submission. I think it sums it up well. Well done, Matt.
Any other comments, questions? Yep, Councillor Morrissey.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Just to support what Councillor Jessup just said, I think it is a little bit of an insult to, suggest that $200 per month more would get more work done or better people into the job. The money is not the point. One comment that I would like to make in this context is, was it last week? There was a webinar happening through the Local Government Association. There have been a whole heap of councillors. I've been joined in and listened in. Almost contributed, but then we ran out of time. So I was just surprised to see how much support there actually is for this.
Yeah.
And I wonder why we are the outliers saying like, this is not the best idea of all. And the other thing that came through the entire context and that chimes in with what Councillor Jessup said about making smaller councils dysfunctional, there was also a lot of straight out support for further amalgamation. It was just like amalgamate it all away. And that was something else that I thought was very surprising because that's not how I thought it would be. Maybe I'm just a little bit naive, but yeah, I was quite surprised that there was a big push for more amalgamation and therefore reducing further representation. I don't think, I wonder like what's the intent of having a problem with over-representation democratically? Shouldn't we be happy about more representation? So what's the motivation actually to cut it off? That's my kind of on-the-side question to that. Because, yeah.
So I 100% agree, because if you added up our allowances, it's very minimal. So they pretty much get 9 of us for a very small amount. And we dedicate so much time, and you really don't have a life as a councillor because everywhere you go, people want to have a chat and they want to talk. So it's not like we're bringing in the 6-figure megabucks to do this job. So they want to get rid of us, but really it's just about taking democracy away. That's all it is. It's just reducing the numbers so there's not enough to stand up and say we want this for our community. But imagine the pressure that would put on the management team if there was like 5 councillors. We'd get less done. And then they'd have to amalgamate us because we'd be running it at, you can't manage by yourself. So I think it's all just a big strategy. But I'm not cynical at all. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
If anyone wants to save a bit of money and not reduce numbers, I'll be happy to take a wage freeze for a couple of years.
Yeah. A wage freeze.
So, yeah, we don't do it for the money, I don't think so. And I think the numbers are quite good and the representation's good and varied, which is very important.
And that's it.
So just in closing, I guess I mentioned that bit that we put in during the adjustments to the initial draft, and I mean it's pretty clear to me that low vote numbers are not an indicator of commitment or competence, because I've seen that for each council that I've looked at.
And I think the state government can hardly throw stones at that one at the moment.
No. True.
You gonna say something?
Okay. Motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors present, and the motion is carried. 15.5, Draft Annual Report 2024-2025, report number 15.043-25. I refer councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Morrissey. And a seconder? Councillor Burgess. would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor Morozek?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Look, a really thorough report, I thought, and we discussed, at the last workshop how we appreciate the infographics and the photographs that basically make it just easier to access, and the infographics in particular. But I also, reading through it, I think it's really incredible to see how much progress has been done. You look at the 5 strategic goals that we're looking at, and there was, I guess, in the second section, second strategic goal, we had to put a few things on hold because we had to prioritize other stuff. And the explanation for that, has been presented, so that's I think okay. And everything else was just either in progress or completed. And a few things that I wanted to highlight and maybe to give credit to the group that's involved is a section in the annual report in 3.211 and 3.411, I think respectively in the agenda on pages 635, I think, or somewhere around there. But anyway, excuse me for getting distracted. So the actions are talking about the engagement that has been had with the Friends of Garden Island Creek about coastal erosion management issues, beach access, and so on. And I would like to suggest 2 minor changes to those 2 paragraphs mentioned. Paragraph 3211 is currently stating a major community dialogue was convened on coastal climate impacts at Garden Island Creek, bringing together residents, technical and experts, and council staff to build a shared understanding of sea level rise and adaptation pathways. I would just like to acknowledge the group's massive efforts. I think the group has been founded 4 or 5 years ago. 2 community members in particular have been driving all the grant applications, organizing the reports done by Chris Sharples and can't recall the other name. My goodness, apologies. But there's been significant work done by the group over many years, and therefore I would suggest that initiated by FOGIC and supported by council, at the beginning of the phrase, that would acknowledge the group's efforts. That would be one thing. And then the second, I would like to change to something, if fellow councillors agree, that biodiversity impacts from coastal erosion at Garden Island Sands were documented through expert assessment and photographic records, commissioned and funded by FOGIC. That's been the bit that has been missing in the initial statement. And I think, again, this just underscores the massive amounts in the community and should be recognized as such. Ultimately, this kind of project won the Huon Valley Disaster Challenge. And I think, a big contribution to that was the group's effort. So I'd suggest we give them a little bit more credit.
Through you. Okay. Oh, no, after you.
Sorry, through you, Acting Mayor, just those last words, I just missed the section that goes in.
So it was in the 3411, it was photographic records commissioned and funded by FOGIC, leading to increased engagement with council to develop monitoring processes to track coastal erosion impacts. I can forward that if you,
Through. I mean, ultimately through you, Acting Mayor, they're really sensible, but ultimately modest adjustments to recognise the group that is rightfully being called out. Councillor Morozek gave me a heads up earlier today. I passed that through the team involved, Malcolm Johnson, Lyle, etc. All agreed that was a good representation. So fully support those changes to recognise that group.
Oh, thank you.
So I just need to get the second permission for those changes.
Through you, Acting Mayor, I think we can take notice of those administratively.
I think they are just administrative changes that we'll make to recognise that group.
I just emailed it through to Mr. Grimsey. Thank you.
Any other councillors with comments, questions?
I thought it was great.
Thought it was great.
Well done, staff.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's great.
Perfect. Well, I will put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. All councillors present, and the motion is carried. 15.6, Huon Valley Community Awards, report number 15.044-25. I refer councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Armstrong, and a seconder, Councillor O'Neill. Would you like to speak to that motion, Councillor Armstrong?
Not really, but I think this might work well. I think there needed to be something that needed to regulate this a little bit more. I think it'll be a fair assessment. Thank you.
Great. Is there any other councillors with comments, questions? No? Yeah,
I
Councillor
think
Burgess?
it's logical, is it? I can't even talk. Yeah, it's good.
Oh, you poor old soul.
Okay. That's an easy one. I will put the motion. Those in favour, please raise your hand. All councillors present, the motion is carried.
Andrew?
15.7, the change of ordinary council meeting date, report number 15.045-25. This is the urgent matter. Do I have a councillor to move this motion? Councillor Robinson. And a seconder? Councillor Gibson. Would you like to speak to that motion, Councillor Robinson?
This looks like efficiency
I had a
and
question.
good engagement.
Why are we thinking that the AGM is going to suddenly be shorter?
Because we've done a fantastic job.
Because we're doing the work on a Saturday, the 29th of November.
You'll recall at last year's AGM, it was one of the part of the dialogue that we had. The comments were made, I believe, by Dr. Smith that we should be having more time to actually celebrate what we've been done and go through the report in more detail and share that with the community, which is what we're planning to do in delivering that agenda. To then share what our plans are moving forward into 2026-27, so the continuation of the strategic plan and the end of what is your group's term plan will be shared. Through that, then actually provide time to discuss the need for like Q&A, but also then actually help community members to refine potential motions for the AGM. So the intention being, there's not the sort of the backs and forwards that can be really quiet. The intent is, it may still change, but the intent, it'll be the first time, then we'll refine, but the intent would be that we're forewarned, we've actually supported people in the procedures of doing a motion, and that it's, you know, it's relevant, we can help guide them, so that the AGM itself is much more of an administrative function. We do the thing, bang, 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 and we're away. Yeah. So it becomes much more, we have a separate time for, because that's the thing, it just, historically, it has not been a good process of engagement and celebration and detailed Q&A, because there's not time for that. So it's just splitting those two things, and just means that we can then do the administrative part of it on one night.
That sounds good. Makes sense now.
Yep.
Sorry, thank you. Just to add to that, I think the difference too is probably the last 12 or 18 months, there's been a conscious effort to engage more with the community along the way. So previous to that, there wasn't a lot of engagement. That, you know, there's the consultations are out there, there's meetings, there's workshops, there's the availability for people to get in contact with everybody. And I think it just takes that element of frustration away, because people are getting answers as they go. They don't have to bear it all up and just have one big meeting and just let it all rip. So I think, you know, it's been positive that has happened. I know it's been time consuming and I know that it's been weekend work, but I think we're seeing the results of that because we're having less angst and more positive interaction. So I think there's a lot of things going on, but You know, people can still come and have a bit of a grieve if they want to about things.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, now they've actually got two opportunities to do it.
Yeah,
They
that's
can
right.
come on the day and have
They
a
can come
conversation.
and harass us as much as they want.
Well, it's not, it's having a conversation about
Absolutely.
it in that session, which is less formal. And then, yeah, if that needs to turn into a motion or whatever else, they've still got that AGM opportunity. It's just that it's, more.
It's nice to know though that they've got options because there weren't options before.
Yep.
You know, and that was part of the problem. You know, and if those options fail, there's other workshops throughout the year and next year that they can pop up and, you know, have a chat about things too.
And
So it's
there's
working.
focused engagement. I think there's more than 60 people registered for the engagement in Signet, the workshop on Signet this weekend, which is again, people routinely turning out because they actually care about their community, but it's people that haven't necessarily engaged before. So it's really encouraging that it's.
Sorry, do you remember when, I think maybe our first year or our second year, we were talking about how we were going to get people to meetings? And we used to joke about because people wouldn't come to meetings. Hasn't that just done a complete flip in the last 2 years? Now we're getting really good positive feedback, good positive engagement. I mean, that's a pretty big flip in, you know, not very much time. I think that's so good.
I wonder why.
Because I talk a lot.
Any other questions or comments?
No, thank you.
I have just one question before I close though. With the people attending the forum to create these motions, are we communicating that they have to then come to the AGM and move those motions, or is that not a requirement?
So through you, Acting Mayor, the requirement is you have to be an elector to put up a motion. You don't actually have to attend at the meeting. Another elector at the meeting can actually move that motion. The other thing is we will have information available on our website in relation to the lodgement of motions, guides, and be present at the community forum to discuss through this. And hopefully a little tutorial video as well.
Would you like to close, Councillor Robinson? No. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. All councillors present. The motion is carried. To 16.1, Finance Report for September 2025. Report number 16.016/25. Refer councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Jessup. A seconder? Councillor O'Neill. Councillor Jessup, would you like to speak to this motion?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Obviously early days to see how we're going. I know we have a loss, but there's looks like there's some staff savings from earlier there and stuff, so the wash will come out. But I was confused about a couple of things. I can't quite, this is on page 801, I can't quite find the notes for the year-to-date statement. So maybe I've missed them. I found some capital notes, but not the notes for the P&L. And this might have been answered if I could find the notes. The capital income, capital grant received specifically for new upgrade assets was 2.063 million. We had only budgeted 35,000 at this stage. Is that a fags or something that's come early or something, or?
Are you acting Mayor? The budget is actually 2.063 million.
Oh, the actuals
And the money that's received is 35,000, and that's just timing with grants that we're expected to come in from our various capital avenues.
Right,
that
I
would be
misread
part
those
of
columns,
the
but I can't find the notes.
There is none, because we're so limited throughout the year that a lot of the movement is just timing. There's nothing that's actually been raised as yet as to be able to say that there's going to be a variance to budget. We believe at this stage that we will be on budget.
So should that note column then not have note A, B, C, D, E, F? We only put a note in there when there is actually a note.
That's correct.
That's why I couldn't find them.
Are there any other councillors with questions or comments on this one?
No.
No.
It's too early.
Okay, I will. Would you like to close, Councillor Jessup?
Keep up the good work.
I will put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors present and the motion is carried. 17.1, Memorial Management Committee Annual General Meeting nominations for 2025. Report number 17.008-25. Refer councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move the motion? Councillor Robinson, and a seconder, Councillor Gibson. Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor Robinson?
Gratitude for the continuing willingness of these volunteers to support these memorial in recognition.
Any other comments, questions? No? I'll put the motion. Those in favour, please raise your hand. So all councillors present, the motion is carried.
I think he's expecting a much longer debate. He's gone.
Burgess?
You reckon you went down to the pub?
Oh, maybe something else. Yeah.
You're not coming back?
Door's open, he can return when he wants to.
I think the whistling won't help.
19.055-25. We are about to move into closed council, so I'd like to thank those that did attend in the gallery tonight and those watching at home. The recommendation is that the meeting now be closed to the public at 9 p.m. pursuant to Regulation 17 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2025 to discuss the following matters: confirmation of minutes, general reports for closed council, tender RFT 228 Port Huon Sports Centre change rooms upgrade, acquisition of land stormwater easement. Do I have a councillor to move a motion to go into closed? Councillor Jessup. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Mrosek. Motion, all those in favour, please raise your hand. All councillors present. I advise that in accordance with Huon Valley Council audio recording of council meetings policy, recording of the open session of meeting ceased at 9:01 p.m.